Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. John, it's finally happened, my friend. Well, first of all, before we get into that, how was your weekend, my friend? Was it good?
It was. What day is it? Is it Monday?
It's Monday.
It's Monday. It was a good weekend.
Yes, it was a good week.
Felt sort of weekendish.
Thank you all so much for joining us. As we said, we've got some amazing news for DC United. After what felt like a 730-day search, I'm pretty sure that this team had Ben Olsen as coach a decade ago. Can't be sure. They fired him a decade ago, I guess. DC United finally has a coach.
Yeah,
Finally.
it happened, and it's not who anybody would have thought, because until today or yesterday, very few people had heard of him. So certainly he was not on anyone's list until very recently.
It is very, very much out of left field. Out of complete left field as far as I think anybody was concerned. This is, and I teased this reference. I teased this reference in the beginning, but before the show. This is like when in The West Wing when Josh Lyman picks the Jimmy Smits character Matt Santos out of Texas, and like the story here, maybe the story's a little bit about the coach, maybe a little bit, maybe there's still a little bit about who he is, where he comes from, but as far as anything turns, he's a complete unknown. And the story really is about DC going out, taking a chance, taking a risk, and grabbing a player. And that's really the story we got here right now. I don't think any of us are up on the Belgian league. He was supposedly coaching his last match, and I really tried to find out like if I could watch this or stream it, or questionably find a website that could host it. I couldn't find it, but
Julian Gressel found it.
Yes,
I don't know.
Apparently,
I think he was VPNing it. I think he was. I know what it was. The Belgian league is available. This is not going to be important anymore now. Obviously, no one cares. But ESPN Plus in Brazil has the Belgian league. So
yes,
if you really want to see what happens to Beerschot after he left, that's what you'll have to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I have to do. But he's here right now, and again, this is a story that is. It's a new risk. We should probably say, have we said the name of the coach?
Nope.
I'm so excited, everybody. I'm so excited. Hernan Losada, Argentinian, speaks, I think it was like Spanish, English, Italian, French. So
a lot of languages, many languages.
More languages. I'm struggling just to learn Spanish, as it is. So I can't even imagine trying to speak 4 different languages. But yeah, let's get right into this, man. What are your thoughts? What are your first
big picture thoughts?
Big picture thoughts.
Big picture thoughts are this is not what we expected, but it is exactly what we hoped. I don't think you can't account for outcomes, but you can account for process, right? Like, so we have said from the start, we want a big swing. We want someone with a defined identity, and we want someone that can tell us what that identity is, and then make it exciting. You can't guarantee this team's going to win, but you can at least guarantee this team's going to try to win. And that's what we've got. We've gotten a whole bunch of that very, very quickly, at least from what we read about. Again, we're all, last night I tweeted, I think on the show account, and now everyone is furiously Googling the Belgian league and Beerschot, and that's where we're all at. But luckily, a lot of people put some great content together very, very quickly, and we can sort of walk through that. I think that's probably, we did it so you don't have to, I think, is the way that we would put this.
So when it was going to be Chris Armas, we were all like, that's the hire that we didn't, that's not the hire we wanted. And apparently he's going to Toronto. And I think there is a sense of like, well, Toronto has to know what they're doing because they're Toronto. I think if DC hires him, it's a much different story than the story we're getting out of Toronto for him. Then we get obviously the one everybody wanted, which was Gonzalo Pineda. And after that, I was like, all right, I was getting some 2010 vibes when a lot of coaches were on the docket they were looking at, and then they ended up just sticking with the interim guy, Ben Olsen, who then was there for 10 years. I was like, is this going to be another one of those situations? And I was scared it was going to be one of I was scared either we were just going to panic and we were going to go hire Dave Sarakan, who just left North Carolina. We were going to make some other move just to get somebody in there, some unknown quantity. But they said, you know what, let's they went outside of the box. I mean, this is a club that has been rooted to the box. They have barricaded themselves inside the box of players in a lot of cases, of coaches, of just there hasn't been a lot of like creative thinking or hey, let's try something different and new. This is very different. And I guess one of the on the United States of Soccer, Jason Davis said they are chasing a trend, which is apparently he's a Bielsa style coach, loves to go out in the attack. I think
trend. That's a good trend to chase.
And I think we've said on the podcast, we've said on the podcast, if we're not going to be good, let's be interesting. And we've been bad and not interesting for so long.
Yep.
With maybe some blips of interestingness. I don't know if that's a word, but
it is now.
it is now, exactly. It's nice to see this club go out and do something. We don't know if this is going to work. This could absolutely fail, but at the very least, they kind of swung for the fences here with something different and something new. And this is a hire for the diehards. This is not going to move the needle. This is not going to get the guy who watches every Washington football team game and Capitals team to pay attention. Maybe a guy who went to a couple. This is for the diehards. This is for people like you and me who have followed this team, who wanted something new and different. So in that case, that's another reason why I really love this hire. Just based on that alone.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into a little bit about him.
Yeah.
I am told already that we are mispronouncing Beerschot, but you know what?
Everyone is.
We're gonna roll with it. Feel free to call in on our number here that we put on the screen later.
We really tried to nail the name of the coach. That was our priority. Our priority goal here. I went to my wife. Our producer went to his wife, who are both of Latinx descent, and they helped us get the name correct. That was our priority. Right. Belgium's fine.
We've got time for one correct name per show, and we decided we're going to spend it here. All right, so let's talk about this guy. Started out his career in Argentina at Independiente, and I did a little work on this. Players who played at Independiente, the most famous one, Christian Gomez, played there for a while. Federico Higuain played there for very briefly. My favorite, DC United's one-season loan player, Pablo Hernandez, plays there currently still. But most of his career he played out in Belgium with a short stint where he was playing with Fred Briant at Beerschot. Said wrong. Beerschot, whatever.
Probably not the same team. I think that team's had some like real financial
they were in the fifth.
Yeah,
they were in the 5th division at one point, similar to my Italian team, AS Bari, who is now FC Bari 1709 or some craziness because of the same problem. So anyway, through various incarnations of Beerschot, he played for them, he coached them, and it started in 2019. Here's where we get the Ben Olsen vibes in a serious way. Started in 2019 with the U21s, and then he took over as manager of the first team halfway through that same season. So I have here extreme Ben Olsen energy with Stijn Verven playing the part of Kurt Anolfo. So I know I said that name wrong, but there's like 9 I's and 3 E's in this guy's name. So we don't belong in Belgium. This is the Flemish. It's not where we belong. So that was in the 2nd division of Belgium. And they went crazy. They just went bananas. Promotion winning. They finished in 5th. I guess there was a playoff, and then they succeeded in the playoffs. But basically the big thing that everyone looks at here is they finished 7 wins, 5 draws, and 2 losses, conceding just 8 goals in order to get there and get promoted to the 1st division, which is big for a team that was in the 5th division 6 years prior. In his first year in charge, great start through 21 matches. They were in 10th place. Here's where it gets exciting, I think. Scored the 3rd most goals in the league at 41, and they're only 1 point away from Europa League, which is great for them. He's now leaving that halfway through. However, one caution note, which I can't find in my notes. Here we go. 41 goals scored, 3rd most in the league. Conceded 45, 2nd worst total in the league. So,
John,
high scoring.
Are you telling me that you are concerned when this team has had moments where they have been the most defensive team in the league and have barely been scored enough to win games and choking games off? Are you telling? I don't care, man. I would love it if this team scored 70 goals and then gave up like 100. I wouldn't care.
I'm just sounding a single note of alarm.
Give me the 5-4. Give me the 6-4. Give me the craziness. Give it to me.
You want the DC United RSL game from whatever year that was.
Exactly. Every single weekend. Every single weekend.
I mean, that's Totally fine. So as far as when he came here, his last game in charge was this weekend. Big quotes from him that were exciting and interesting. Ted and I were just discussing this for the show. He said, if I had been able to choose, I would, of course, rather have said goodbye after the season. I don't like to get out of something in the middle, but there was no other way out of it now. It's a new challenge. What made me choose? First and foremost, I think it is a dream for many coaches to work in MLS. I also have to realize that such an opportunity does not come every day. So we are now a league of choice. Just as Don Garber predicted, for Belgian coaches with 1 year of experience, we are a league of choice. So that's exciting. We'll just start it right there. We also said, no offense, no offense to any previous coaches, but he likely asked them when he was in the interview process, how long was the guy before me here? 10 years? Okay. So he won like what? 4 or 5 championships? 3? 1? None? Yes. I will accept this job. I will be here in 2 days.
One open cup. Give him credit. Give him credit for that.
I said champion. I said league. All right. Anyway. So I would say that he was probably, his eyes were blinking there pretty fast. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. Football Reference and Transfer Market both indicate that he plays with a back 3 or a back 5, potentially with a 4-4-2 diamond. There is a great article that someone sent to us. I don't have the name, unfortunately. I don't want to, sorry, I'm not going to look back. We've had a lot of tweets in the last couple of days, but that sort of looks at a sort of a tactical breakdown of the way his team plays beyond the scope of this show. It gets inverted in the pyramid style. Lots of graphics, lots of arrows. Not our thing.
We're just going to tell you to read the article. We will try our best to sort of summarize some points about it, maybe. But we are not tactical wizards here on this show.
It's not our thing. I'm looking here in the chat. About 30 people are telling us it's pronounced Beerschot, like you shot a bear. That's easy. We got it now. Thank you. Thank you. It is now. Well, the thing is, we're never going to say their name again. They don't exist as far as this podcast is concerned from now on. But that's fine. It's good to know that. But anyway, so that's the possibility. The possibility is a 3-man back line or a 5-man back line. We've experimented with that in the past, as you'll remember, to some good and some bad effect. I think with very similar personnel that we're going to have when we start the season. But we're also going to have a healthy Paul Arriola, who potentially could be one of those wingbacks, maybe with Julian Gressel. We didn't see the best out of Julian Gressel in that position last season, but we didn't see the best out of him in any position. Yeah. So it's a possibility now. Maybe that's what
and there is something said. I think I saw a comment posted about how I don't think we have the players to play a high octane offense. I disagree in a lot of ways about that sort of sentiment that we don't have the players to play this position. I feel like this team, with maybe not the same construct of players, but similar construct of players, has looked best when they are in the Ben Olsen days. It was when they were doing sort of a half press and they would sort of get the ball and go. And I wonder if they could be like full press, whether that would be good. And you have Yamil Assad and you have Julian Gressel, who both played in very high octane offenses in Atlanta. Paul Arriola comes from Liga MX, which is a very high octane league. If you sit down and watch Liga MX, it is pretty close to like what MLS will be maybe in like 5-10 years if there's like the amount of money that they spend. And you have again Edison Flores also coming from Liga MX. I do think this team has a capability to play the high octane style that this coach needs. I don't know if it'll be pretty. I don't know if it'll be a San Jose style thing where they like go out and like win games like 3-2 and then lose games like 7-1. But it's not going to be boring. It's not going to be boring. I hope, at least he might completely change his formation. Who knows if maybe he goes, I can't do that here. So apparently he's clouded a lot for his tactical awareness. Also very, very well regarded in Belgium. A lot of people in Belgium, I think, have actually been pretty surprised he took this job. They thought maybe he was going to be going on to sort of another more prestigious European club. So it's
so nice to have someone that other people would also want.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. And just to close this off, before we've got a caller here we're going to go to, and everybody make sure that you get in line. We want this to be about how you feel about this new coach mostly tonight. One person in United Circle said that Losada ticks all the right boxes, bright, tactically modern coach who is known for an attack-minded playing style, models his tactics on those used by Marcelo Bielsa. a storied Argentine coach now with Leeds United. United interviewed more than 25 candidates, some casually, some seriously, and seemed inclined to hire someone with MLS or US experience until very recently. So this is a big swing.
Yep.
We're excited for it. Let's talk to Joel or Joel.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
What do you think?
Excited, looking forward. I'm really happy. You know, it's an ownership group that's been very risk averse in the past, and when we saw word about a guy like Armas, we knew exactly what we were going to get, and instead now we have potentially a guy with a lot of upside. You know, he could not be great, but unlike Armas, he could really be great, and it's great to just have someone to be excited about and to look forward to the next season.
Yeah, upside is good, right? Upside makes people watch on TV, and when they can actually get in the stands, it makes them buy tickets. So I would agree completely. Are you thinking this is going to be a process, or are you expecting him to hit the ground running with the team that exists right now on today?
You know, so from the little I know about him, he arrived at a team, you know, had the advantage of knowing them pretty intimately, but immediately got them promoted against expectations, and then you know, hung tough in the top flight in Belgium, I believe, you know, and scored a lot of goals. Even if we lose, it'd be exciting to lose 3-2 and 5-4 instead of, you know, just lose by one jammy goal over and over again.
We have, we have said that on the podcast before. I was unsure how much of the fan base felt the same way. It appears all of them do. I feel like everyone is tired of 1-0 either way. I think they're just done with it. So I think if we never see another 0-0 no shot draw ever again, it would be too soon. I think that's probably how everybody feels.
Yeah. No, agreed. Well, thanks a
All
lot,
right, Joel.
guys. Good luck. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for calling.
Yep. Thanks for calling, Joel. Yeah, I mean, I think that the sentiment of just being an exciting attacking team, I think is enough of a draw. Just the chance that this could work out and be something new and something different, I think is going to bring a lot of people in.
We've got some chat questions I want to make sure we get to.
Yes, go ahead.
Some of them we won't have the answers to, but you know, that's how the show goes. Giovanni says, when will the preseason start this season, considering COVID concerns? Well, what a prescient question to ask.
Not just COVID concerns, by the way.
Right.
COVID actually, COVID's probably still number one on the list, but I'd say 1A is the current CBA negotiations that have been going down.
So in case you don't know anything about that, so last year, right before the season started and the COVID shutdown happened, they renegotiated the CBA that had been negotiated and agreed upon prior to the season was never ratified by either side. That meant they went back into negotiations, said we need to go back. We need to claw back some of these costs. We know it's going to be bad. At that point, we didn't necessarily yet know that we would be shut down all season. We kind of thought we would maybe potentially, didn't want to think about it, but it was true. And according to the league, as a result, they lost $1 billion. And of that, 750 million of it was related to not having ticket revenue. For a league that's set up the way it is, that makes sense. That was not too big of a surprise. We have a lot of people waiting to call, and that's great. Yes. But I'll wrap it up quickly. So they inserted a clause called a force majeure clause that meant that they could automatically call off the agreement that was agreed to and restart negotiations because of an act of God or an act of whatever. They have done that. The league has sent a offer to the players saying basically, we're not going to take any more money off of you than we did last year. The Players Association said that's still taking more money off. We agreed last year to reduce our salaries by 10%. We agreed to push off into the future TV revenue deal. And you're just basically saying, yep, but longer now. But through like 3 years from now, not just this 1 year. So the Players Association says, not really big fans of this. Why don't we just play on the existing deal? MLS is saying, no, this is a 30-day negotiation window. And after that, we don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. The short story is nobody knows the answer to that question. I would anticipate a later start than anticipated. I think March is what you normally assume. I assume past that.
So we have Rob. We have Rob on the line who wants to give us a lesson in Flemish. So Rob, fire it away, my friend. What's your lesson?
Okay. So the club is called Beerschot in Flemish. It's not SH, it's SCH, which is a sound you don't have in English. But essentially, that's the name of a locality. And if you want to look for something, what it means, hard to do, but beer, B-E-R, is actually the same as bear, the animal. Yep. And schot is can have a number of meanings, but we think the club got the name especially because in the early stages of its development, they were hard shooters. Schot is to shoot. Schot, shoot. So it's Beerschot that you have to say. And in Antwerp, there are two major clubs. Beerschot is one, and the other one is a Royal Antwerp Football Club. Unfortunately, I'm an Antwerp supporter, not a Beerschot supporter, but I just thought you should get it right if you're going to get a new trainer from there.
We appreciate that, and we wish he was from Antwerp so we could have a much easier time pronouncing the team he was from. But we do appreciate the lesson; it was very helpful. What are your
All right, very good.
Yeah, thanks. Do you have any thoughts on the coach from your oppositional fan perspective?
No, I've been gone way too long. I left Europe in '73. I've been in the States ever since. Still go back regularly and still follow my own club, of course, but I don't know much about this coach and the current Beerschot club.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Absolutely.
All righty. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. So Beerschot, I think. Nope. Didn't get it. Darn. I'll work on it. I need more lessons, Rob. Give me some private lessons.
You could record it and break it down phonetically for us. We could maybe get it. I just think we're probably just not going to say it.
It's fine. I kind of want to still buy their jersey because I think the name itself, people would be like, that's a cool name for the fact that it just has
Beerschot.
It's just the fact that it has beer as we would pronounce in English. Anyway,
next.
We got next on the line. We got Angus on the line.
Angus from the Discord
with the new team tactics.
Hey, Angus, we didn't get the beginning of that.
You're on, buddy.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. I was calling because I think this is interesting, and I think that Losada is really gonna thrive here for a couple reasons. But what is going to happen this time around is Bill Hamid is finally going to get to prove the haters wrong with his ball distribution.
Yep.
Because I don't know if you guys watched the Beerschot Bruges game yesterday, but when I was watching it, their goalie, the Beerschot keeper, was way out of his box, coming up to push the line. And he almost was sitting 5-10 yards behind the center backs at times, acting as an extra passer when they were passing and developing in the back.
We might have to trade for Sean Johnson then.
Well, do we really want that?
No, I'm kidding. No, that's a U.S. national team joke. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the idea that Bill Hamid is a pure shot stopper is going to definitely be put to the test with Losada in charge, I think.
We'll see.
Another reason why.
I'm still wondering. He's not going to get a chance to. I think certain aspects of this roster will fit what he wants to do. But I think if we want, I'll be curious to see how much he holds true to what he wants, or he gets here on day one and he's like, I got to rethink some things. I can't do everything I want. And then maybe in 2 or 3 years when I'll get a chance to choose some different players. But that's my caveat. I'm not sure we're going to see everything that we want.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is I did note that somebody had a graphic of all the formations he's used in his time with Beerschot, and he was using 4 at the backs with, some frequency. It wasn't his go-to formation, but he was using the occasional 4-3-3 or 4-1-2-1-2 and like that diamond in the middle. So he is not averse to playing 4 at the back. He is not solely a 3-5-2 kind of guy. So we could see a 4-3-3 mixed in there, especially at the start, because we have a lot of wingers right now and not a lot of center backs.
Right, that is true. That was our big concern is sort of how, and we won't really know this until we get a lot more conversations about sort of his play style. We all were going off as basically like, a couple articles. But I like that. I like that you said that there's, a lot of data saying he plays 4 in the back occasionally. Coaches that are wed exclusively to one formation, no matter how good the formation is, I'm not very excited about, particularly with a team that doesn't have a whole bunch of money to spend on remaking the roster in his image in 1 year or 2 years. So that's good. That's good info.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was adapting. I know that the guy before this said, I think it was Joel or Yoel, he's also in the Discord, but he said that, he had a really good understanding of the group at Beerschot because, he played his whole career there. So I think a lot of that formation and those player choices were probably made because of the players who were there, because he knew the group so well. So it'll be interesting how he adapts it. But it's also worth noting Beerschot's record transfer is less than $750,000. He's coming from a club that does not spend money.
It's like St. Truden, who bought Chris Durkin, who at that time was their record spend, and I think it was also less than $1 million. Yeah. So you're right. So he's able to make some lemonade out of some lemons, which is we've got. Yeah. I don't want to say we all have lemons, but I feel like we've got a lemon budget.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm very excited for this hire. I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air for a club that's been stale for the past decade.
Yes.
Yep. I think honestly, I always look at the coach as the 4th DP slot on a roster, because you can pay them as much as you want and they have a huge impact on the play and the style of play and stuff and such. And we saw Gressel thrive in a wing back situation. We've seen Areola thrive when he has a little bit more defensive responsibility. I mean, where can that guy not play? As long as he's running up and down a sideline, he's probably going to be all right. And you've got, Assad, who can play. I guess he could play holding midfield now too, but
yes,
you've got these kind of players who can go everywhere. And I don't know. I think it'll be very interesting. I don't know where Flores slots in personally, but
I was talking to James Lambert.
Other than that, I think this will be interesting.
Yeah, I was talking to James, the president of Screaming Eagles, and he was talking about he sees Flores as being sort of the second forward, sort of a withdrawn forward that tucks in behind Kamara, and I think that makes sense based on a little bit of the things we saw from him. Good in possession, really able to keep the ball under pressure when he's able to play. Also great cross of the ball. So I think that one thing that we have learned, and I did not get most of that article about the tactics. I'm not even going to pretend that I got most of it, but there was a lot of conversation about that second striker pulling back to the midfield or going to the wings to create overloads. And if Flores is able to sort of not just be the tucked behind forward and get out there also, I think you get the most out of him. So we're excited. There are a lot of players last year, coach aside, that the talent was much above their performance. And we just have to see this year what we can actually get out of those new players and get out of the players around them, whatever that unlocks.
And hopefully as normal of a year as we possibly can. I think I don't think that played at least some of the role in 2020, and I'll be curious to see how he does with the young players too. I think that's something maybe that might get a little bit lost in this. How does he handle a guy like Paredes and Yao? Angus, thank you so much for joining the call, my friend. And anything else? I'll let you have one last word if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah. And this goes back to that youth thing. I think if he has the ability to make that lemonade out of lemons, like we were talking about, he knows how to use his in-house resources. And if he doesn't see the talent in our youth system and the prospects we have right now, that'll be a big sticking point for, I think, a majority of the fan base who was accustomed to seeing that last season. Because, they're probably not starters where they're at right now, but they can sure provide a spark coming off the bench with 5 subs.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks so much for joining Angus, and hopefully we enjoy the season this year.
I think we will.
All right. Yeah, and I think Angus hit an interesting point just about maximizing resources. That's something I think we talked about on the show. Is we are not a club that is going to spend, and really in all of MLS, you need to be able to maximize your resources that you have available. You're not going to get the pick of whatever players you want. And I think someone actually did some analysis on the roster spending between these two clubs. And I think, I don't know where the information came from, but the club he came from is not a club that spends a lot of money. I think they were actually $4 million less than what DC spends on their roster. So going up against teams that, spend a lot more, he seems like that is something he's really good at, is sort of maximizing those resources and really getting the most out, squeezing every, last dollar out of your roster. And if you're a team that's not, going to have $20 million to spend on transfer fees for a few players, that you need to do that. So it's important. So I'm just, and I think with the players he has, I think he has a potential to do that. And I think if he does that, he's going to be successful. For sure.
And also, both of our callers tonight have come from the DC United Discord. So I recommend everyone join that. We also have a Discord as well. I will get producer Brian to drop links and invites to both of those in the chats. So if you Discord, I'm old. Ted's becoming old. I'm a young old person. And I am the youngest. I think I'm the oldest person on Discord. So there's a cap. If you're below my age, you're probably already on. If you're not, that's where all the cool kids are. It's like AIM, but weirder.
And then, sorry, another interesting one. Yes, join the DC United Discord. Another interesting thing, they probably had to pay some money to get this guy out of his contract. Let's not forget that he still had 2 years on his contract. So that's sort of another thing. We talk about this club, they're willing to spend. Now, I'm not going to say maybe they probably didn't have to pay $15 million or however much it took. But I imagine it was probably a pretty sizable. I mean, he was 2 years left on his contract. It was probably a pretty sizable chunk of change to get the club to, you can negotiate with him now. So
I feel like if their highest they've ever paid for a player is less than $1 million, I feel like we probably didn't spend too much money.
Yeah, but he's a guy who maybe would have been in demand for other jobs. He would have been, they might have looked at it as we just got to the first division. This is our first year in the first division. We don't want to, we want to keep him here. You also, if you have a coach who's unhappy, that's even worse sometimes maybe than a player. Because you don't have, excuse me, my camera is falling. It's not probably making me look all weird. I need to fix that when we get off this podcast, but
it's all right. Technical. But I want to say, if you're watching the live stream now, or if you're listening later, this won't matter much to you. We've got live chat that's visible in the display. We're on IG Live at the same time. Technology is happening. Aside from Ted's camera falling down, there's technology all over the place. Let's talk about the lineup we think that we're going to get, assuming a 3-5-2, which is sort of where the conversation was before now. We'll have producer Brian throw that up and we'll talk to it. But I think that there aren't a lot of decisions to make, really, based on sort of the tools we have, particularly in the back. I feel like we're pretty constrained who it might be. But we're not live, so I'll assume we'll have it up. Bill Hamid, by the way, just had surgery yesterday. Mm-hmm. He had a sports hernia and is out 6 to 8 weeks. Sports hernias are only slightly funny because if you're a longtime DC United fan, there was a period of time where we had about 6 or 7 players have sports hernias in the course of a year or two. So weird that has come back now, but when he's healthy, obviously Bill Hamid will be in net. Chris Seitz, I would guess based on recovering time, I would bet that we'll get some Chris Seitz at the beginning of the season, unless this work stoppage / labor negotiation goes much further than we think it will. So there are only 3 center backs on the team, so that picks itself pretty easily. I would say Birnbaum or Pines in the center point and Brillant. I think that's sort of. There's none of those 3 really scream to me best in a 3-back setup. so we'll figure out where that sort of goes. But then in the midfield, I think this is sort of our consensus pick. Gressel on the left, Ariel on the right, Assad maybe in the swing and an 8 in the 8, and then Moreno and Knaus in the middle. I thought potentially Felipe in place of Moreno, but he's not on the team yet. And also Moreno may just be the player based on his range of passing. Some of our listeners have Moreno beef they may not appreciate that, but who knows? And then up top, not a lot of other options. It's Flores and Kamara. Flores, we talked about just a few minutes ago about sort of that making sense from a placement on the field perspective.
You are missing out on Jordi Reyna, right?
Yes,
lineup.
Good point.
And that's the other thing too, is like, I was actually in this lineup and I'm like, there's some depth here now. You can conceivably see a Kevin Paredes coming in, a Yordi Reyna sort of competing probably with Flores for that spot if that's where he ends up being. I am going to be excited. I think this will help Edison Flores out. He's going to be. I think he has to look at this guy. I'm sure maybe he was Googling the same person. Maybe he even knows who this guy is in a certain sense because he's from South America. And I wonder if he did a little happy dance because I felt that when he was signed, that this team was going to play sort of a more high octane pressing style. And they went with sort of the slow, methodical attacking buildup that I just did not think fit the players that we had, including and especially Edison Flores. Do you
remember that one game Yordi Reyna was going insane and then he killed somebody basically on the field, and then he got sad, and then he wasn't good anymore. I don't remember what game that was, and if anyone remember in the chat what game that was, he looked like a man possessed, and I was like, "Oh, this is great, more of this." And then the wheels fell off. We've got. We'll
see. New coach, new identity. Yes, we got a caller on the line. As I scroll down, as I pulled up the lineup, Gregory Koch is on the line. Greg,
yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Welcome in, my friend.
So I'm wondering because there were rumors a while back that Ben Olsen's contract basically said if we get rid of him, we still have to keep him around in some capacity. So I'm wondering if we know if that's true, and if so, what we're going to do with him. What you think we should do with him? Should we stick him in the front office somewhere, make him a head coach emeritus of sorts, or just put him somewhere he can't do any harm, like the Papoose thing, because he's terrible? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
So there was an interview. We did a clip show of an interview with Jason Levian last week, and the answer he gave basically was that Ben Olsen is under contract next year. He was a part tangentially of the search. Seemed like less of that than maybe anything else. There was a conversation about his input would be vital for the training facility in Ashburn. I had said at the point that sounds very much like trying, a problem in search of a solution rather than actually having a decided sort of where we're going to put him. I think that it was about, securing his financial short-term future, and he had given enough to the club over time that they were fine with doing that. I don't think he's actually going to have a role. I don't think he needs a role. I think head coach emeritus, like you said, sort of jokingly, I think is basically going to be his position. Maybe like community outreach manager. I don't know. I think he's going to be kind of chilling. And
he's talked extensively about the fact that he if he was fired today, would he go be looking for another coaching position? And he has said, I don't think I would do that. And I think right now, based on his Instagram,
but he's been interviewed twice, but he was interviewed for Toronto, and he was. So maybe so. Coming for him.
It's not him actively seeking the job. Chris Armas was actively seeking a job at MLS. He has talked. This is him. Someone calls him on his phone. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll listen. Let's see." And I think that's kind of that's kind of the scenario with him. But I don't think he has as actively engaged in trying to find a coaching job or find something else. I think he is recuperating after coaching the poorest team in MLS for like 10 years straight, and I think he is ready to just kind of relax a little bit and buy some cool artwork.
Yeah.
Greg, are you happy with this coaching hire?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see how he does, but it seems like a good one.
Yep, I think that's the right.
But the thing is, I've seen coaching hires where I thought, "Oh, this is really great," and they were terrible, and I've seen coaching hires where I thought, what were they thinking? And they turned it out to be one of the best coaches in team's history. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But I think in theory, this is a good hire.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. Greg, thanks for the call. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, and I think I think that's something we always have to keep in mind here. I mean, this could. I mean, what are we gonna be like in end of the season? Are we going to think this is still a great hire? I don't know.
Doesn't matter, man.
Doesn't matter. You're right.
Listen, we have been in search of optimism so much for as long as this show has been on.
This show quality has dipped in the off season a little bit. We finally got some actual interesting content.
And I think that interested parties who have maybe listened to our show and been displeased at our level of sadness and gripe, we're happy now. We're in a good mood now. So you got to keep signing exciting options, and we're going to keep being happy.
I do have a scenario here. Does this team, if this team, let's say they suffer 2020-esque levels of bad, do you think the team gives him another chance next year where he's on the hot seat?
Yes.
Okay.
He said the contract is 3 years with a team held option, unless the team is in last place. He'll see out his contract.
And I do think so. I the one notion that, and the one part of Stephen Goff's article that kind of gets me is I think he was, when he mentioned, DC's looking at MLS only candidates, and he's like, international coaches don't succeed much in MLS. And I think he uses the stat, that only one foreign coach has won MLS Cup. And I said, okay, sure, but that's a bit of a myth. And I think it's a myth that you cannot be successful with. You need to have an MLS coach. It used to be the case. And a large reason that was the case was because international coaches would come in with like skeleton soccer staff. And what we've seen now in this league is that you pair them with a person who can make the trades, who knows the league, who's going to go out and make the moves. That be the person to know, we shouldn't be trading $200,000 in allocation money for, a bench player, or, here's how we're going to play the game. And, I think there are some very legitimate criticisms of Dave Casper, but there is one thing he is really, really good at, and that is working the MLS rules and getting those sort of good deals that sort of come through in a lot of ways. So I think there's a good pairing if they can work together well, and Losada can sort of maximize what's on the roster. I think we do have something good here. So I just wanted to push back against that rumor. It's not, and I think it came from the Beckham experiment and Ruud Gullit and Alexi Lawless, which was a disaster.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. It was a long time ago, but it seems to be, it's the perpetuation of the myth of like, foreign coaches can't do MLS. The league rules are too crazy. No, you give them somebody who can say, the coach is like, I want this. I think this player's good. It's like, okay, let's go make a deal. Let's go get a deal together. Or, that's not going to work. These cost this much. We only have this much in the cap. You need somebody like that.
Ruud Gullit did not give a shit. That was the problem. If you read that book, it had nothing to do with being international. It had everything to do with, he thought this was a joke.
And he pushed back a lot. And there's a reason why you don't see Ruud Gullit coaching anywhere anymore,
right?
Too. He wasn't some misunderstood genius who came in. It was very clear. But I do think that sort of started the whole myth, and I think it does sort of perpetuate the idea, and it sort of underscored just how weird MLS was at that time, and still is. And there's been a lot of sort of the rules that existed there that don't really exist anymore. But I think it sort of underscored a little bit of that, and MLS has sort of chipped away at some of those. So it's not as big of a leap, I think, as it used to be, for coaches coming abroad. So, but he will have to adjust. It's going to be an adjustment period for sure. So,
he will not be in place, obviously, for the draft, which is on Thursday.
Yes.
But special treat for you guys, we're going to have Travis Clark of Top Drawer Soccer on the show tomorrow night. It will not be a live show, but it will be in the podcast stream. You'll get it before the draft happens on Thursday. So tune in for that. He's still getting his work visa, I believe, squared away. Again, there's no rush here. He doesn't have a staff yet. They're still working on that. There's a lot of details still to be tied up. But the important thing is that it's confirmed that he's coming. We're no longer on coach watch, and we're also, thank God, we're not Miami hiring Phil Neville.
And I'll be curious to ask Travis Clark what he thinks about that, and what he thinks about not having the coach there, and a lot about sort of what this draft sort of means with everything. And it's on Inauguration Day, isn't it? Isn't it Wednesday? Like during,
I thought it was Thursday.
Oh, is it Thursday? You might be right. I could be completely off base here.
Well, it's okay, because it used to be on TV. It used to have fans at it, so it's just going further and further in the toilet.
The MLS Super Draft went virtual before it was cool.
Right. It was not pushed by a pandemic. It just did it because they did it.
It is January 21st. It is Thursday. You are right. I got my days. Days mixed up. 2 p.m. Eastern time. MLSsoccer.com. Probably on the YouTube channels. Again, all virtual. DC have the fourth pick in the draft. I'll be curious to see, if they can get an impact player.
No.
And,
Probably not, but that's okay. But I was just thinking about this. We talked about Bill Hamid's hernia surgery. Steven Birnbaum also out for some amount of time with his ankle, an ankle that bothered him the entire back half of the year and that caused him to miss the whole Chad Ashton experiment. He was out for all of that, which was great because it gave Donovan Pines an opportunity to play. He played so well that he worked himself onto the U23 side for the U.S. national team coming up. I think I don't know by this week, but they're playing soon. But so basically what I'm saying is it would not be bad for us if the debate about the new season went on a little bit longer. We may want a later start so that we have all of our players fully fit and ready to go.
Yeah. And I think Bill looks like his is a quicker recovery time than Steve's. I think they said Bill's is like 6 to 8 weeks. So close to the beginning of the year. And I think it's also, I think even if the season started when it was originally thought, which I think right now is like mid-March, even if not everybody is there, this is, I think DC knows like, all right, we're hiring this coach. It's going to be a learning curve everywhere. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the surgeries. We're going to make the surgeries. We're going to do the things that we need to do.
Right.
So,
they know that either way, it's not mission critical to be ready here in the next 2 months, but still hope it all works out. Steve has had a number of surgeries. I think he's had a few surgeries over the years. I'm glad this is not any head issue related. This is something that he can work through. Although Ben would say that ankle surgery is not anything you ever want to go through either.
Nope.
Although he went through plenty of them. Recently, what was the name on MLS's Rookie of the Year?
Ben Halson, I think.
Ben Halson. I absolutely I spent like 5 minutes being like, was there a Ben Halson? And he won the Rookie of the Year? How did I not know about this? That's weird that there was a Halson and a Ben Halson. Weird.
Yeah. No, that was that. I saw that immediately and I was like, Rookie? No, that was Ben. Like, and again, I laughed at it, and then it also underlined just how much like MLS needs somebody. They
also fired half of their staff.
Yeah, it's
pandemic,
true.
So there's probably a little bit of covering multiple jobs going on there.
Yeah, there's probably some overwork there.
Ben's IG is like the spot now. You got to follow. I don't know if you're not already somehow. If you're somehow a listener of this show and are not following him on Instagram, you should. He also posted a video of him scoring for Nottingham Forest, and the 1 year he played over there before his ankle was blown into a million pieces. But he's having a good time. He's playing putt down in Florida. The man he clearly is not housebound like some of us. He appears to be doing his thing anyway. I'm not going to make any value judgments on that. Ted and I living in our basements or rooms, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Not going to work. We step out to shop and do some other small things and wear masks, and that's what you should do.
No putt for me though.
Oh,
I could though.
Exactly.
I guess it's outside.
Yeah, but it's outside, so all good. I guess you have written down here at the bottom. You have Jordan Morris to Swansea. Cool, which I guess has a DC connection to that.
Sure. So apparently, Steve Kaplan, the part owner of Swansea and also part owner of DC United, was key in making this happen. So he's going there on a loan. Jordan Morris is. I think it's great for him. I had always read that he was sort of very, very comfortable in MLS and not wanting to leave. So maybe this is something where he just wanted to get a little toe dip like Landon.
Well, I think also that there's a couple of things going on here. I think there are a lot of things going on here with Jordan. First of all, Jordan Morris was, U.S. men's national team pen in starter. Now you don't have that. You've got Matthew Hoppe, who apparently is just bursting onto the scene with Schalke, scored again this week, over the weekend. I'm not sure what the result of the game was, whether Schalke got a positive result out of it, but you have Gio Reyna. You have all these players that are emerging in Europe, Weston McKennie. And suddenly now you put all those players out there and you're like, oh, Jordan Morris, well, he's off the bench. And he's 26. There's also not really sure when the season's going to start for MLS. So I think this is he needs to go somewhere where he's going to play. This is about playing. So you're not going to go try to integrate yourself into a top level German Bundesliga side. You're going to look for a place where you are at the level or maybe a little bit better. And Championship is probably a good place to start. And if you do well enough, then hey, you're playing in the Premiership. Yep. I was going to look to see where Swansea City are right now in the table because I was curious.
How much do you want to bet they're not in a playoff spot?
Well, they're actually second. They are
What?
second. They are second. In the they are
Good thing
they're
you
in
didn't-
they're in the automatic promotion spot.
Good thing you didn't take that bet.
So they are definitely sort of battling it out for that top spot and in getting automatically promoted to the Premiership. So that's another reason I think to say that, hey, this team's doing pretty well. I might get a shot at playing in the Premiership. Kind of going in the old fashioned way that most Americans did, going in the Jay DeMerit way, playing for Watford.
Ooh.
And making a difference there. So
Early 2010s.
Jay DeMerit had a much tougher path. Let's just be clear. But yes, so I think that's the move. That's the calculation. He's trying to get himself into a position where he can make a better argument. Also staying sharp for coming up for trying to keep himself in the national team picture. So I think that's kind of the calculation here to the move. And hopefully Seattle get a pretty penny if they manage to sell him after the loan.
Yeah, there's a question here in the chat from Ryan Johnson about an option to buy. Can't imagine Swansea would sign a 26-year-old permanently if he did well. I just checked. It looks like about $5 to $7 million is about the hope of what his rights would secure. So I think if you're going up, if you are going up, that's nothing.
Yeah.
As far as money that you're going to be coming into, and if he actually shows out and does well, I don't think there's a problem making that move. He is not a young he's not a young player, I guess, but he's certainly in his prime. So yeah, I don't think there's a challenge in doing that. And you just talked about it. Teams all over the world are looking to the U.S. market as bang for your buck. And if Jordan Morris becomes a 7 to 9 goal scorer for $7 million, you make that move every time.
The U.S. market for male soccer players, I should say, is kind of like when you're buying that blue chip stock before it's a blue chip stock. It's like, hey, this is really undervalued. There's a lot of value. There's a lot of undervalue here. It's a market where if players of the caliber, like at the top level, who play at the top level of the Brazilian league and Argentinian league, go for a lot more than those that play at the top level in MLS, unless you played in those leagues. So I think that's kind of the calculation right now is, hey, they're pretty cheap and they can actually play too, and that's also important. If they couldn't play and they weren't having the success, you would not see them. You would not see them going for much of anything. But it's right. Still
one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the labor strife. The counter proposal from the Players League, the Players Association, was to cap off budget spend on players going forward the next 2 years. That is a total union move. So basically what they're saying there is saying, that money you spend to buy players that aren't already in the union, that are from overseas, that are going to take jobs of people currently in the union and American players. What if we don't spend money on that? What if we save the money there instead of cut money from us, which is, predictably the route they'd go. But I don't know if they're going to agree to that, because
I would very much doubt it.
The owners are like, listen, that's the money we do want to spend.
Interesting thing, because reading this is from Fonzer Linnell over on YouTube. Says fan on the Beerschot Reddit page says that Losada doesn't ascribe to a particular formation, but rather is pragmatic and attempts to construct the most efficient team from the players he has.
Good.
So yeah, that leads me to believe, and that's sort of the other question is, are we going to get a guy who comes in who is going to be pragmatic, look at what he has, or are we going to get a guy who is so rooted to this idea of what he wants to play? For better or worse, this is what he wants to do. And I think having a guy who's willing to be like, no, I don't need to do what I did at this other club. I don't have the players to fit that. And that's that can be wonders for a coach. A coach that's able to do that tend to be sometimes more successful than the coaches that don't.
It'll be more about his ability to spell out what he's looking to do, even with those players.
Yes, exactly.
If he immediately goes into the fact where, like, well, I don't have the players to play my way. I don't think that's what a first year coach. That's what a Jose Mourinho does. Mm-hmm. That's not what this guy's going to do.
And I think if he's a pragmatist, he's going to know I don't have a lot of choice in who I play. I may get to choose. Casper might come and say, "Here's 3 players we're looking at that fit within our budget. Tell me which one give me your thoughts on them." And then, and maybe they had targets. Maybe they had targets that they went through with him and said, "Oh yeah, well, I think I like this guy." And and it's like, I agree. So I'll be curious to see what players come in.
We're going to be seeing some weird players in the Belgian league coming in. I think some other guys we've never heard of. I think that's what you're going to likely see.
Well,
that's going to be his expertise, right?
Yeah. In theory, but I mean, also, I think also an underrated feature might be his language skills in having a coach that speaks Spanish and having that connection, I think could do wonders. As much as you love Ben, and I'm not sure what Ben's Spanish skills were, but I know there was classes that they were given for a lot of these players that try to learn the language, but I think that's going to help in a lot of ways for a lot of these players. So.
Particularly with the skill players usually being Latin on this team over time. So I'm excited to see how he connects that group with the rest of the group. Let's just sort of as we wrap up, let's just sort of sum up our total thoughts on this again for people who have gotten in late. Maybe I'll start. So this move is, we don't necessarily know how it's going to pan out. We don't necessarily know how we're going to do this year. I don't really care how we do this year, honestly, provided that we are, as advertised, we are aggressively attacking. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like if the play, I would say that I want two things. I want them to actually attack like they say they're going to attack. And then I want the skill players that we've bought in recent years and spent money on to perform up to their levels that they have performed in the past. Last year, they did not. A new coach again, new system likely, potentially. But I want to see those players do what they're capable of doing. And then if they do that, we know that going forward with this coach, we're in a place to succeed. And that's all that we can ask for as a fan base.
I want more, those moments when you're watching a game and you're on your couch and maybe you're distracted by something, and then you hear, we're not going to get a crowd, for a while. So this is kind of a
ramping up fake crowd.
The ramping up the crowd, that you could hear the announcer and you kind of peer up and you just you fix your eyes on something and you kind of almost start to get off, edge of your seat type moments. I want more of those moments, because we got very few and far between in 2020. There were maybe a couple of moments in the beginning of the year. That's what I want. I want reasons to be. I want moments where I'm going to sit on the edge of my seat. I'm going to jump up in excitement. I'm going to see something amazing. Even if it doesn't work, I'm going to see, good passing and, just those types of moments. I want those. And that's all I want this year, really. Playoffs are going to be good. I think this team is capable of making the playoffs with the roster they have.
Yep.
I think this certainly is a playoff roster. I don't know if it's high enough. But now, hey, give me some excitement, Lasad. If you're listening, man, just give us excitement. You literally have you have a low bar to exceed. It's just excitement. We want interesting. We want new. So
yeah, I mean, that's totally different than a fan base that's demanding a championship, right? Mm-hmm. I think that we have been in a position where we have been for so long. And also as a fan base, I think we've shrunk. There's major atrophy in the amount of people who pay attention to this team because we've not been totally interesting. So I think that's easier than results based. It's about communication to the fans that are left. And I think they're going to do that. I think by the way that they sort of not necessarily hinted, but heavily talked about his play style in the comments of the press release, they know that's what people want. So I think they're going to have him. I think he's probably a good communicator. So they're going to have him out front and foremost talking about how we're going to see his vision on the field. And that's going to make people go, if you look at the reaction is uniformly positive right now on this first day, because they've heard what they need to hear. So that's promising.
10 years of not a whole lot of that and very little of that from Ben Olsen, as much as we love him dearly on this club. I think having a guy who's going to give that maybe a little bit of behind the curtain talk, like I mentioned on the last show, they need more of that. And I think he could be a guy that could go out and do that. So we're excited. You showing off your tattoo?
I've been told in the chat to show off my tattoo. So that's the work of Tony Trustworthy. Dan knows all about Tony Trustworthy. But yeah, we couldn't be happier. Also from a content perspective, like hallelujah, we needed this more than anything. I think you and I I had a great time doing the RFK React series, volume 1. To the Jason Levian interview. And if there are more of them, we're going to keep doing them because it was easy as hell. So that's another reason we like doing those interviews. But anyway, overall, couldn't be happier with his move. We're excited to see what's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. We're excited to see what's going to happen with the draft on Thursday. I guess we're excited about it. We
I'm
never
excited.
know.
Hey, man,
It's a surprise.
it's
content.
I still love the draft, man. I still enjoyed it. MLS did a good job with their virtual draft, and I think it set the stage for a lot of other drafts that were going to happen. So I'm kind of a fan of those types of drafts. So we'll see, man. It's gonna be fun. It's always fun. All right, thank you all so much for listening. It's exciting, folks. Let's enjoy it. The sky's the limit. MLS Cup champion 2021. We can do it. We can do it with this coach. It can happen. Anything can happen. And we'll see you guys.
We got to tell them all the things that we do, all the places you can find us.
Find us. Right,
so you could find us, of course, on rfkrefugees.com. You can become patrons on our Patreon page, which you can also find, I think, on rfkrefugees.com. Join the Discord. Links are in the chat. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. If somehow you just wandered over here and don't already do those things, it's just important to tell you.
Yep, exactly. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you guys. We'll be back next week.
Yes, we will. We'll be back tomorrow.
Back tomorrow. Yes. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you next week. Vamos.